You ever go out when you were younger and single and you were looking for, I don't know, the opposite sex, somebody to make out with, and you ended up in some place and there was this really, really, really hot one and that's the one you wanted, but she had a 5 right next to her and you knew that there was a chance that was one you were going to have to go for if it didn't work out? Well, that's what Michigan is in this election cycle. That's what Michigan always is, that filthy place, because I grew up an Ohio State fan. But as it pertains to the election, Pennsylvania, it's all we can talk about on the Republican ticket. Where are we in Pennsylvania? Let's win Pennsylvania. But Trump did win the 5 last time, well, in 2016. He did win Michigan. Joining me now, representing that 5, Tudor Dixon, host of the Tudor Dixon podcast. Tudor, no one talks about Michigan. I don't know, maybe we've written it off as a commie hellhole, but can we win there anymore?
We can. Yeah, absolutely. Michigan is definitely still winnable. It's always very close. It's going to be very close this time. This time is a little bit different because there are different issues plaguing Democrats in Michigan. So I think you'll see that there's a bit of an argument over where the Arab American community will fall in Michigan because they're actually fairly conservative. But obviously there are issues over with what's going on in the Middle East, and that is really dragging them back and forth between both candidates.
Yeah, they hate Jews. How big of a voting population is that in Michigan? It obviously, when you watch Democrats and how they try to walk that October 7th tightrope, it's obvious they think the Arab American, Muslim American population is a significant voting bloc.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think that they also know that they made decisions in the administration that ultimately led to people in both sides of this crisis losing their lives. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if we're being very honest right now, the Biden-Harris administration, had they not given this money, had they not lifted these sanctions, had they not allowed Iran to have the money that they had, that then funded this terror operation, that there wouldn't be the casualties we've seen on both sides of this war. And so if we're being honest in Michigan, I mean, these people have to understand that this death and destruction, it directly came from the White House.
Okay, well, setting aside the holy war going on in that state, what about the rest of it? I look at the election results of your election. Sorry, not to tear at an old wound, but I look at that and I was mortified. I was mortified that night. I just couldn't believe my eyes. How could this happen? But I just wrote Michigan off after that. You're telling me not to. Why?
No, because I believe that, I mean, Michigan is one of those states that has gone Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. We had the lost years of our previous governor, who is now the energy secretary, Jennifer Granholm. Then we went to a Republican and Rick Snyder, ended up bouncing back to Gretchen Whitmer. And now we will have another lost decade under Gretchen Whitmer. I mean, this is actually significantly worse than what we saw during the Granholm years. We're at a point now where we've lost so many jobs. We have so few businesses left in the state of Michigan. The energy grid is a disaster. The lights continuously go out in people's homes. I mean, it really is a total mess. And the education system has fallen to the bottom 5, I think, in the nation right now. And I believe they just passed something saying that parents can't FOIA to find out what the curriculum is in schools. So while we have failing schools, parents aren't allowed to ask, what is that going on? Why aren't our kids learning? That's the state of Michigan right now. And ultimately, I think people will say, okay, we've had enough. We want someone who's going to be actually really leading the state.
How's Gretchen Whitmer hung on to power as long as she had there? It's not just, the winning re-election back into the governor's mansion. She governs like she's in California, but as you've just pointed out, Michigan is not California. So how?
Well, most of the time she is in California these days. I mean, I don't think she's been in the state for very long since she wrote her book that's about 3 pages long. So I think that's probably why she's governing that way. But honestly, she's not governing at all at the moment. And I think that's what the people of Michigan are starting to realize. I don't know if you've seen this, Jesse, but she's doing these bizarre videos every day. Just over the weekend, she did one with Governor Pritzker, and they were doing this back and forth where they're dressing up in their different team uniforms, and she throws a ball at him, and they think this is very playful, and she thinks she's being adorable. Like, what is going on? So for a long time, I think people said she wants to be president. And I think there was a hot moment where she was like, okay, after Joe Biden gets kicked out of the race, I'll be the candidate. And then I don't know if she went a little crazy after that. Like, oh, they didn't choose me. So she decided that she was going to go for that like Ricky Lake talk show host. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of is she wants to go back to the days of Jerry Springer or something.
Well, you know what? Sign me up for that. I had such a blast watching Springer when I was younger. Tudor, do you have an ice maker at your house?
I don't have the issues that you have, but yeah, I do have an ice maker.
A portable one like I do?
No, it's not. It just is in the refrigerator. It doesn't wake me up. It doesn't like haunt my dreams.
Okay. Well, I was checking, just seeing where you were in life and how things were going with the show and all that. Okay, back to Michigan. We always talk about the auto workers unions and these guys as if, look, from the outside looking in, people look at that as the voting bloc in Michigan. Is it? Is it like, are they this juggernaut that you have to win them to win the state? What are they as it pertains to Michigan?
Well, the majority of the state is somehow connected to the auto industry because even if you work in a restaurant in one of the towns that has a factory, you know, that restaurant is populated by the people who work at the factory. And if you work out in the suburbs, then those businesses are generally tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers to the auto industry. So it's bigger than just the auto workers union because most people in the state of Michigan have some connection to the auto industry. So of course it's very important. But what people are seeing in the state of Michigan is, look, we are people who assemble vehicles. That's what we do. We have vehicle plants. Our vehicle assembly plants are leaving. They're going to Tennessee, they're going to Kentucky, and we're not getting new ones. As these manufacturers are building new plants to manufacture vehicles, we're getting plants to manufacture batteries, and they're coming from China. And it doesn't look like they're going to have a lot of jobs. And so as we hear Biden and Whitmer and Harris come out and say, we want to mandate electric vehicles, and Harris has absolutely said she wants to mandate electric vehicles, we're not going to be manufacturing vehicles anymore in the state of Michigan. We're going to be manufacturing electric batteries, which is not our forte, which is not what people in the state are used to. It's not like jobs are interchangeable like that. I know Biden thinks you can close down a pipeline and, oh, don't worry, they're all going to build solar panels for $12 an hour. These jobs are not interchangeable. These are skilled positions. And so the auto workers actually see that. They look at this and they go, oh my gosh, our jobs are leaving. And I don't necessarily want to work with these batteries that are filled with corrosive materials that can burn right through your arm and we've never dealt with before. I mean, these are truly changes in the manufacturing process that's not our expertise, and that our expertise we see leaving. So the auto workers are saying, well, wait a minute, maybe EVs are not the answer. Maybe we want someone who's going to support gas-powered vehicles and make sure that our industry actually survives.
Tudor, the auto industry, I hear about how angry these workers are. You just pointed it out. How have they traditionally voted? This seems like it would be a union Democrat voting bloc, but it's so obvious for someone like me that Democrats have declared war on their industry. You just laid out the results of it. Is there some sort of an anti-Democrat rebellion with these people in Michigan?
Well, you hear it. You hear rumblings of it, certainly. There are people who have come to us and said that. I actually was out in my yard the other day and a woman stopped me and said, I just want you to know that I worked for the auto industry my entire life. I've been a member of the union. And about 10 years ago, they started calling me at my house and saying, this is how you'll vote. She said it was the first time they honestly said, this is how you will vote. There, you have no choice. She said, that's when I started to get suspicious about my union dues. But I mean, it's the same thing with the teachers union. And I think that one's even more damaging. I don't think public unions should be allowed to give money to candidates because ultimately our taxpayer dollars are going to the teachers who are forced to pay it to the union. And then the union elects people we don't want in office. It's outrageous. These public unions should not be allowed to take all of their members' money and donate it to Democrat candidates who then ultimately hurt them.
What's the worst part about living in Michigan? Do you find it burdensome? I would.
Michigan is an amazingly beautiful state. Look, we have incredible beaches. We have no sharks. We have no salt water. It's absolutely beautiful. You can ski in the winter. You can swim and surf in the summer. It's ridiculous that we have to live under this communist rule, but we're done with it. We're going to make sure that the next election is a good one.
Beautiful beaches. Okay, Tudor. All right, Tudor Dixon, everybody, host of the Tudor Dixon Show. All right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.